Okay, so again, test is 7.5 to 7.8. Okay, I think there are 9 questions. It is a shorter time test. It's only going to take 40 minutes to do this one, and the only calculator you can use is the one that's on the lockdown browser itself, okay, which I'll provide to you. So we start with 7.5, and these are matrix questions. These types of questions are going to be answered on an answer sheet. You want to print that today or tomorrow. And if you don't have a printer, this is one of the ones that's literally just boxes to keep yourself organized. So get yourself a white piece of paper, draw the boxes to make it look like the answer sheet, okay? So for these, you want to first check to see if it can even be done before you start any scalar multiple. So if I look at A that says 8A minus 2B, can I add or subtract A and B? No, why not? Different dimensions. You can write rows and columns don't match. I don't care how you put that, okay? In your own words, however you want to write that, but you cannot do it. That earns you 10 points, folks, if you get it right.
So just write
Different dimensions, okay? The rows and columns don't match. The order of the matrices don't match, anything like that. Now imagine what happens if you actually try to go do that and you can't do it. That means 10 points gone. Like I can't give partial credit on that question. So that should be an easy 10 points, but you got to be careful. For B, now it's looking at A and C. Can you combine A and C? Yes. So I'm going to do 8A first. So 8 times A is negative 24, 16, 32, and 8. And then I'm going to multiply in a positive 2 and then subtract it. You could also multiply in a negative 2 and add it. But I'd get 2, 14, negative 6, and 12. And then I just subtract. So negative 24 minus 2 is negative 26. 16 minus 14 is 2. 32 minus a negative 6 is 38. And 8 minus 12 is negative 4. Be very careful on this. Obviously, you need to show some work. So you need to show at least the multiplication and then the addition. Okay, watch your signs. This is where people make silly mistakes. The good news is that 10-point question will get partial credit. So like if you mess up the sign on like negative 4, something like that, I will give you credit for the other spaces. But you do have to show all that work. All right, then I get multiplication. So for multiplication, we have to check the order, right? And the inner two have to match, the outer two is the result. So if I'm doing A and B, what are the dimensions of A? 2 by 2. What are the dimensions of B? 2 by 3, right? It's rows and columns. So if the inner two match, which they do, then the outer two is the result, which means A times B is going to be a 2 by 3. So for the very first one, we do the first row and the first column, and I'd get negative 3 times 3 plus 2 times 4. I'll make that a little bit bigger. So I'd get negative 9 plus 8, which is negative 1. Then I do row 1, column 2. So negative 3 times negative 1 plus 2 times 5, positive 3 plus 10, that's 13. Then I do row 1, column 3. So negative 3 times 0 plus 2 times negative 2. 0 minus 4, which is negative 4. Then I go to row 2. So remember, the name of the cells tells you what to multiply out. So if you want to write that, this would be row 2, column 1, row 2, column 2, row 2, column 3. So the first one, row 2, column 1, is 4 times 3 plus 1 times 4, 12 plus 4, which is 16. Then row 2, column 2, 4 times negative 1 plus 1 times 5, negative 4 plus 5, which is 1. Row 2, column 3, 4 times 0 plus 1 times negative 2, and I get 0 minus 2, negative 2. Then you're going to rewrite for me neatly your answer, negative 1, 13, negative 4, 16, 1, negative 2. So all of that needs to be in the box for that question on your answer sheet. That good? You're welcome. Okay, then go to D. So D says A times C. A is your 2 by 2. Wait for it. A is your 2 by 2. C is your 2 by 2. Again, inner 2 match, so the outer 2 would be the answer. If they do not match, then you cannot do it, and you would say the same thing that you said before, like the inner 2 don't match, the number of columns doesn't match the number of rows, that kind of thing. So A times C, row 1, column 1, would be negative 3 times 1 plus 2 times negative 3, negative 3 minus 6, negative 9. Row 1, column 2, would be negative 3 times 7 plus 2 times 6, negative 21 plus 12, negative 9. Then I do row 2, column 1, 4 times 1 plus 1 times negative 3, 4 minus 3, which is 1. Row 2, column 2, 4 times 7 plus 1 times 6, 28 plus 6, 34. And then again, you'll rewrite it, negative 9, 1, and 34. So I'll give you the answer, Blake. That's where you want to put that, okay? But you want to make sure you show your work. And again, if the inner 2 numbers don't match, then you cannot multiply. So it's an all or nothing. Questions on adding, subtracting, scalar, or multiply? We're good, yes?
Can you leave it there?
Yeah. Then we got to the inverse. We did the big long ones, the 1, 0, 0 ones. I did not put those on your test. The only inverses on your test is the 2 by 2. So remember, we do 1 over the determinant times, and we switch the A and the D, and we negate or change the sign on the B and the C, and then we distribute that 1 over the determinant in. So for this example, negative 3, 5, 6, negative 2, we do the little fish. Negative 2 times negative 3 minus 6 times 5. 6 minus 30 will give me negative 24. And then I do 1 over negative 24 times, I switch A and D, so negative 2 and negative 3 switch locations. I change the signs on B and C, so negative 5 and negative 6. Then I distribute that in, so 22 over 24, negative 5 over negative 24. Well, this would be negative, and then I'll simplify it. Negative 6 over negative 24, and negative 3 over negative 24. Simplify it out, and I get 1/12, 5/24, 1/4, and 1/8. Again, all of these so far are going to be written on your answer sheet. So I would say if you're taking this from home, be very, very careful when you rewrite these problems onto your answer sheet. If you lose a negative or you switch something, obviously your question continues to be wrong. So you have to be really, really careful. Obviously, if you're in person, I'll print it for you. I do think that's a little bit of an advantage because you'll see the numbers in front of you instead of having to rewrite them, okay? But from home, there's just no way to do it. So just be really, really careful when you are rewriting those questions on your answer sheet. Any questions on the inverse? Then 7 was the determinant. There is no straightforward determinant question. So it doesn't just say find the determinant. What there will be are things like this. Find the area and determine if it's collinear. You're going to get given 3 coordinate points. Remember, for area, we do 1/2. We do the x's and the y's and then the columns of ones. And we always make it positive. So I'm going to take my 3 coordinate points. I'm going to write them out carefully next to each other, x, y, x, y, x, y. I fill in the 3rd column with the ones. I duplicate the first 2 columns to right-hand side. I do the forward slash and then the backslash. And then I make sure I make it positive and I cut it in half. That's for area. For collinear, we do the x's and the y's and the ones same. And we want this to be 0. If it is 0, then it's a yes. If it's not 0, then it's a no.
So there's 2 of these.
There's 1 of each of those. Yep. The test is going to feel heavy 7-8 because of it. Because there's 1 of each of those, and then there's Kramer's rule of both. So it's really like 7-5, a little teeny tiny bit from 7-6, and then 7-8.
How many like addition ones are there?
There's 2 addition, subtraction, 2 multiplication. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. And then there's the Kramer's rule with the 2 variables, and there's the Kramer's rule with the 3 variables, which is what your quiz was. So remember, if it's a 2 variable, that D is the x's and the y's. D sub x is the constants and the y's. D sub y is the x's and the constants. So 2, -1, -10, 3, 2, -1. Again, you're going to have to be so very careful when you write this out. This is 2, 3, -1, 2. I'm going to go back and do that determinant. This is -10, -1, -1, 2. I'll go back and do that one. And this is 2, 3, -10, -1. So this would be 2 times 2 minus 3 times -1. 4 minus a -3 becomes 4 plus 3, which is 7. And that's D. This is 2 times -10 minus -1 times -1, -20 minus 1, -21, and that's D sub x. And this is -1 times 2 minus 3 times -10, -2 plus 30, which is 28, and that's D sub y. So again, this answer sheet is going to give you a little section for D. It's going to give you a little section for D sub x. It's going to give you a little section for D sub y. And then on Canvas, you'll actually type in the x, y coordinate. That's going to be -21 over 7, which is -3, and 28 over 7, which is 4. My answer is -3, positive 4. So that will get typed into Canvas. So the area is going to get typed into Canvas. The collinear is multiple choice. It's either yes or it's no. And then this question is going to get typed in just the answer that. But obviously, I'll check your work on your answer sheet. And I'll say it again because I feel like I say it all the time, but I'll say it again. Without the work to back this answer, you will get no points. So obviously, we know a lot of ways to solve a system. If you don't have the work to back it, I'll take the points back.
So there's nothing 7.7?
No, because that was just learning how to use the determinant. So technically, we use 7, 7, and 7, 8. Everybody good on this? Yes?
No.
All right, this is what you should have gotten. So remember for D, you are writing the X's, the Y's, the Z's, duplicating the first two columns again to the right, and then doing your little forward slash, backward slash. I would have gotten 15 from the left, top left, bottom right, 30 from the top right, bottom left, so 15 minus 30 is negative 15. Then I did dx. dx is the constants, the Y's and the Z's in that order. Duplicate the constants and the Y's again to the right, and I got d sub x is negative 30. Double check from there, does d of x over d simplify to be a whole number? I'm telling you now, your test, at least the ones that will be given on Wednesday, I haven't gotten to the makeups, okay? But at least the ones for sure that will be given on Wednesday, those are going to be nice whole numbers. So check it at that point. If it doesn't go in evenly, double check those two because somewhere you have a mistake. I would go back to the very beginning and make sure you rewrote the matrix right. Like that's where I would start if I found a mistake, and then multiply down your columns. Then d sub y should have been 45 and d sub z should be negative 45. The solution to this will get typed in on Canvas, which is 2, negative 3, 3. But you have to have all that work, okay? I'm going to give you 4 big squares just like this. One for d sub x, one for d sub y, and one for d. You want to make sure you show all that work, okay? Doing stuff in your head will cause a mistake. Doing stuff in your head will let you lose credit. So keep that in mind. You've got to show the proof of these steps. Questions on anything test related? So this should, in my opinion, not be a difficult one as long as you're careful. Mistakes get made here, silly mistakes get made. But there's nothing tricky on this test. It is straightforward. If you did your Kramer's Rule video and you are confident, that is 20 points of your test right there.